Okay, it just got started to recording. So can you tell me about your studies that you've done at home?
Yes, I watched some Ellen videos and repeated after her. I did the first 10 lessons of the vocabulary for Toefl. I read speed reading, first 2 chapters, and there was vocabulary in context, the reading, academy, college reading.
All right.
And I read about the first, like, vocabulary
All right.
in context.
How about essential words for TOEFL? Were you able to complete the first 10 units or first 10 lessons over there?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Now, did you just glance over, or were you familiar with most of the words there?
I was familiar with most of the words there. That's why they weren't like so hard. I thought that it was too much, that I wouldn't be in time, but then I looked at it and it was easy.
Were there some words that were difficult? And if so, can you exemplify that?
Yeah, for example, there was a word stamina. I didn't know it before.
You have never heard about it? You haven't ever heard about it?
Yeah, I never heard about it.
Okay.
Also, there was a word albeit. Also.
Albeit.
Yeah, albeit.
Do you know how to use it in a sentence? Albeit. Can you use albeit in a sentence? Example sentence.
Okay. For example, albeit I wasn't participating during the lesson. Wait. Albeit I wasn't at the lesson. I still, for example, did my homework or something like that. I still understood the topic.
Okay, but obey is a different use. Okay, after obey, we never use sentence, normal sentence structure like subject plus verb. I was not participating. Okay, this is a normal sentence structure. Instead, we have to use either noun expression or gerund, which means obeyed my, let's say, participation in the class, rather than obeyed I was participating. Okay, either you have to change it to the noun form or to the gerund form.
Okay.
It's the same as despite or in spite of. So, for example, which one is true? In spite of it was raining, we continue. Let's say, in spite of in spite of it was raining heavily, we continued playing football, or we stopped playing football indeed.
So,
which one is
like,
true?
albeit,
Is it true or not? No. In spite of we were playing, in spite of it was raining heavily, we continued football, soccer.
Yeah, it's correct.
No, it's not correct. Because after in spite of, after despite, we use either noun expression or gerund. Okay?
Okay.
And if we want to use it in the normal sentence structure, then we have to add the fact that. So if we say, in spite of the fact that it was raining heavily, we continued playing soccer, that's correct. But after in spite of, we have to use noun expression. For example, in spite of heavy rain, rather than in spite of it was raining heavily. Okay?
Okay.
Or the same applies to despite or albeit. Okay? But after although, after nevertheless, nonetheless, notwithstanding, we use the same structure. Okay? We use normal sentence structure, subject plus verb. That's why do not only concentrate on the meanings of the words, but also the use of the words. Okay, check out the examples very properly, and therefore, I strategize you, or I recommend you to use the strategy that when you come up with, or when you come across with such kind of word that you don't know or how to use, or the meaning of the word is vague to you, then you got to go to Youglish or Woki and check them out in the real life examples that however they use. Okay, did you do that? Did you use that strategy?
Actually, no, I forgot about it. I only looked through the book, like the examples and the meaning that they gave us.
Okay, So just do it for the words that you don't know, okay? If you know how to use
Yeah.
the word, let's say, ambiguous or ambiguity, then there's no problem in terms of going through the, let's say, English or Woki. But if it's not the case, then you can go through in order to enhance your collaboration with that word, okay?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, what did what did we do in our last lesson? Can you summarize that? Do you remember?
Our last,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we watched the conversation, political, about liberalism and democracy, and also we discussed the lecture. We made like it concluded like a difference between them. Also, you gave us a file about the reading questions, and we explained it to each other with Murad. And yeah, I think that's it. What else?
All right.
Yeah.
And today we're going to deal with some, we talked about reading test, right, in our last session. And today we're going to talk about the listening session, and if time lets us, then we're also going to touch upon the points related to the writing and speaking test. And if the time extends, then we're going to probably practice some common questions that can be found in the in those tests. All right. And before that, I'd like to just, let's say, here's our comment. I'd like you to watch a short video. Okay, and let's see if can you hear it? You don't see anything, right? What do you see? I haven't.
I see you.
Only okay. Let's share the.
Yeah.
What about the sound?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, then seems like I have to share my computer sound here.
The Bible. Car and decided to stay aged woman. Much for tuning in today.
What about now? Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, this guy, whose name is Joel Osteen, he's going to start with a short, funny, let's say, story. And can you tell me, first of all, why do we have to start with something fun? He's always starting with fun. Why is that? What might be the positive advantage of starting any conversation, any lecture, any audience-related public speaking with fun? Is there any specific advantage of this? What do you think about it?
Fine. I think that it's like a part of vocabulary, maybe. You mean like
No, starting with something funny. What is the benefit of it when you start conversation or your lecture?
I think that the listeners, the audience, it becomes like more interested in what you're going to tell, and and after that, maybe the level of concentration will be higher.
Yeah.
Also, it may make feel like the audience. It will make the audience feel more comfortable, maybe.
Comfortable and connected to the speaker. Yeah, there's so many benefits of this, and some of them have already been mentioned by you. Okay, therefore we're starting with something fun, and he's going to talk about the story. I'd like you to firstly just summarize the information that's going to be presented herein, okay, about this funny story, and then he's going to talk about some more reasonable content, which is completely different than this funny story. Let's get started.
Thank you again for coming out. I like to start with something funny. I heard about this middle-aged woman. She had a heart attack, and on the operating table, she asked God if this was it. God said, no, you have 40 more years. Upon recovery, she decided to stay in the hospital and have a facelift, tummy tuck, liposuction, and extreme makeover. 2 months later, as she was leaving the hospital, she was hit by a car and killed. She got to heaven and said, God, I thought you said I had 40 more years. God said, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you.
So, did you understand this?
Yeah.
Can you summarize it by the use of different vocabulary by paraphrasing the sentences that you're going to provide?
Yeah, so there was a woman, she was working and she had a heart attack, and she asked God if that was it. And he said that no, you have 40 more years. After that, she went to the hospital, she made like a makeover and stuff. And after 2 years, she was hit by a car. And that at that moment, God said that I didn't recognize you. Like,
But
you
she was
said
not.
that.
She was not working. She was.
Okay.
Okay. Let's listen to that part.
Upon recovery, she funny. I heard about this middle-aged woman. She had a heart attack, and on the operating table, she asked God if this was it.
So what does it mean, operating table?
Yeah, it's like a reception.
Yeah, medical operation. And the woman or the person who is lied on the table, and let's say the surgeons. Okay, do you hear? It's a kind of foreign chat. Let's mute the kind of notification here. Okay. So on the operating rooms, the surgeons are, let's say, cutting the body and try to fix some kind of sores and something like that. Okay. So that's the operating room. And when she was in the operating room, she asked God that if this was if this is the end of end of her life. And what the God answered back?
That no, it's not. You have 40 more years.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
Then she was like really. She had like a makeover or something like that. I heard that. And after 2 years, she got hit by a car.
Do you know what this means? A makeover or makeup?
Yeah, it's like to put cosmetics on the face.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
And after 2 years, she got hit by a car, and she told God that, but you said that I have 40 more years. And God replied that I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry. Like.
Okay, what's the moral of this story?
Probably that she did makeup. Maybe that's why God didn't recognize her, because nowadays women do so much makeup that they don't even like any.
It's about the drawbacks of the so much extreme makeup that the woman should avoid. Okay, and now he's going to talk about. Would you like to comment on this anymore, or that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, now let's hear about the main content here. Okay.
You mean it, Em? I do. And there's in talk to you today about activating faith and not fear.
Okay, now we're going to talk about something related to activating faith and not fear. All right? Do you understand the meanings of faith and fear?
Yeah.
Okay, let's listen. It's a kind of a motivational speech, but we're going to listen to this lecture with 1.5 speed, okay? And I require you to take notes whenever it is possible. And afterward, you're going to summarize the information by the use of some vocabulary or some sort of grammar-related issues and so forth, that whatever has been mentioned here, because we need to train ourselves for warm-up so that we can be ready for the, let's say, advanced topics. Let's get started.
All through the day, we have the choice to believe that either God is in control and good things are in store, or we can go around worried, negative, expecting the worst. I hear people say, I'm afraid I'm going to get laid off. I'm afraid my marriage is not going to last. I'm afraid my children are going to get into trouble. They don't realize it, but they're activating fear instead of faith. Fear and faith have something in common. They both ask us to believe something is going to happen that we cannot see. Fear says that pain in your side is the same thing your grandmother died from. It's going to be the end of you. Faith says that pain is not permanent. It's only temporary. Fear says business is slow. You're going to go under. Faith says God is supplying all of my needs. Fear says you've been through so much, you're never going to really be happy again. Faith says my best days are still out in front of me. Here's the key. Whatever you meditate on is what's going to take root. If you dwell on that fear all day, you let it play again and again in your mind, then you give it a right to become a reality. That's what Job said. The thing I feared came upon me. Fear is using your faith in the wrong direction. Your faith will work in the negative just as well as it will the positive. I was at the doctor's office with our daughter Alexandra one time, and as the doctor was examining her, he began to talk about how bad the flu season was and how he gets it every year. I said, "Doctor, do you really get it every year?" He said, "Yeah, Joel, it's just automatic with me. Something about my immune system." He was so convinced, he was expecting it. 6 weeks later, we were scheduled to go back for Alexandra's checkup. His office called, said, "Don't come today. The doctor is out with the flu." I thought, his faith is working. He got just what he was believing for. The problem is, he was using it in the wrong direction. Just as faith can bring in good things, fear can bring in negative things. When you go around worried, expecting the worst, it's like you're inviting that into your life. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to get the flu. You just invited the flu. I'm afraid I might get laid off. You just invited a layoff. No, turn it around. Quit inviting defeat, sickness, bad breaks, and start inviting victory into your life. Use your faith in the right direction.
Okay, I think that's enough. Did you notice the speed in one part of the speech that was rapid, and the other part of the speech it was not that rapid? Was it slow or not in the normal speech? Was it speaking
No,
fast or not? Was he speaking fast or not?
At first it was, but then it was like normal.
Normal or slow?
I don't know. I didn't like feel the difference. Maybe it's like I thought it was normal.
Okay, it wasn't a normal, but I thought it might be a little bit slower because that we exercise the fast speech, and when it's normal, then it becomes much slower to us. So have you conducted this speed listening and copy listening on a daily basis as an exercise? Speed listening?
No.
So what was the reason?
No, I listened to the speeches and repeated after them. But
so that's called copy listening. Okay. How about speed listening? So you forgot about that, or you afraid of it?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, then you can take note and just put that into action for 2 weeks. Okay, not more than that. And after 2 weeks, I'd like you to report that whether it was beneficial to you or to what extent, to what degree it was beneficial to you. So I'd like you to see it by yourself. Okay. Because when you listen with twice speed, when a person is speaking in the normal speed, then it becomes like that. It is a very slow speech. You can you just become excited about that. Okay, therefore, you have to train your ears for fast speech. And if you do it for 2 weeks, I think it's going to be very important for you and very critical for your future success. Just put that into action. Okay,
Yeah,
can you summarize? Can you summarize this, let's say, lecture that whatever this guy talked about?
Yeah, he talked about. So the topic is activating faith and not fear.
Okay.
He told that we have the choice, like whether to believe in God. Like he said something about God, and he said that faith and fear they are like opposite, but at the same time they have like a common thing because that's what we expect. when we have something like some plans in future, we can choose either faith or fear. For example, when the marriage, some people think that what if the marriage is not going to like not to happen. Yeah,
Endure or last.
yeah, it's not going to last. Yeah, and so that they fear. And the person that talks, he says that why don't we like put faith in this sentence? Like, why don't we say that like this marriage is gonna work? And also he said something about that faith, that it's like what we expect. Faith and fear is what we expect. So if we expect something bad, sometimes bad things are going to happen if we are like expecting them. So that's why we have to invite good things. We have to invite faith instead of fear. He also gave an example of the thing that I fear came upon me, the joke. He gave it as an example.
The joke.
That's
okay.
Also he told about the doctor. So as an example, he gave us the doctor who was expecting a flu every year. So someone asked from the doctor, are you going to have this flu this year? And he
Who
said,
was that person? Who was the person asking this question?
Alexander, or how was, I don't know.
No, Alexandra is this guy's girl, okay, daughter. This is it.
Okay.
Do you see my pointer? Do you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was the guy who went to the regular checkup to the doctor. Okay. This guy asked the doctor that whether or not he's going to be available by next Thursday or whatsoever the date that he requested, and the answer was by the doctor.
He said that he certainly will get it, that flu. And after a period of time, when the guy came to this doctor, someone told him that he has a flu. So he was like expecting a flu. So he invited this flu, like he invited this fear. And at the end of the speech, he said that stop inviting fear. You have to start inviting victory, like faith.
Okay. So this is the recommendation by the speaker, okay, or the lecturer. Okay, and the first thing that you need to remember in terms of speaking test is that whenever you speak, try to use multiparous vocabulary. Okay, if you use only the word speaker in regard to this guy, then it's not going to give the clear clue to the test scorers or the test examiners that whether or not you have you have the information about the different or various types of the words that are interrelated to the word speaker. Okay, you can say, for example, lecturer, okay, or the preacher in this case. This person is conducting a kind of sermon, which means that he is a preacher, okay? Or at one point you also said that the person who is talking, okay, it's also another exemplification of the speaker, because you clarify that to whomever you're talking about. Okay, so would you like to state something about this? About this lecture? Do you have any more comments, or that's all?
I liked it because I agree with the speaker. I'm also like a positive person, so I think that if you're expecting something good, this good is going.
All right. Let me just share my document with you. Okay. So I'm going to share now a Word document. Okay, we're also going to talk about the writing, speaking, or listening, depending on the sequence. But first of all, when we conduct the speaking, we need to, let's say, use this kind of method, which is called prep. What does it mean, prep, or prep method? This stands for, do you know
preparation?
That?
Yeah.
No. Point. R stands for reason. and then comes example, then comes point. So first of all, you need to identify your main angle, that what your view is about the given topic. For example, the question was, what do you think about this lecture, or what can you say about this lecture? And then you say that this conversation, this lecture, this sermon was about activating faith and not fear. It's a kind of motivational or inspirational speech which motivates people or aspires people to become more productive in their later lives. And then you have to provide the reason that why you think like this, why do you think that this is your view, okay? How you can support it with the how can you support it with your reason? Okay, then you give the reason, provide the reason that this is the case because most people need motivation, and sometimes people feel like struggling through the life, or they have some kind of problems, and you can give some sort of the problem that has been already mentioned in the lecture. For example, people fear layoff. What does it mean, layoff? That people can get laid off. Off as a noun, and the verb form is lay off. Be laid off. It means layoff is the noun form for unemployment. People fear unemployment, that they can become unemployed. They can be out of their work, okay, or they can be fired. Okay, fire here means become unemployed by the director.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the reason that why this kind of speech should be given, and also you can give the example, and the examples might be the stories that you already mentioned about Alexandra's checkup, or it can be the kind of consequences of the situations, or some other details that are related to the reason and your point. The last point, okay, the last part, which is also indicated as point as it is in the beginning. This is the summary of the main point that you stated in the beginning of your speech. Okay, this is optional, but if you summarize the information at the end once again, then it means that you are organizing the information in the mind of your interlocutor, the other person. Okay, therefore, summarizing the information at the end, that this is why I believe that motivational speeches are important, and we have to activate faith, not fear, because as we are faithful towards the positive things, then we're going to have the positive consequences in our life, and otherwise we have to go through some struggling, some let's say drawbacks of the life, or drawbacks of the let's say some negative thoughts that are just struggling in our minds. Then it means that it's going to be or it's going to have some negative let's say outcomes in your life. Therefore, prep method is important, because when you give your point, the person who is talking to you or listening to you will understand that, okay, this is the main point. Is it interesting to us or not? Do I have to listen, or what's going to be next? Okay, these kinds of information directly is generated in the mind of the interlocutor. And then by providing the reason, the interlocutor understands that why you think like that. By providing the example, then you have a chance to endorse and let's say uphold your view that these are even more details that why I think like this. Okay, storytelling or rhetoric questions, these are all types of examples, and by means of reasoning, you are just strengthening your situation in terms of your point and argument. Okay, because otherwise the argument will be weak. So if you need a strong argument, then you need to support it with reason and example. So I suggest you, and Murad also, okay, the usage of prep method. Okay, when you speak, when you write, just use this, because this is, let's say, the main integral part of the communication process. Okay? So this is the structure that, however, the information is formulated in the academic realms. Okay, now I'd like you to, again, read something as we read in the reading section of our last session. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the structure of the listening test. So here we don't have Murad, but still, will have the chance to replace him. So you're going to just play the role of Murat by yourself as well as yourself, okay? And let's see that what kinds of question types are going to be introduced in the listening test, and about their frequency, about the value of the questions, about the types of or examples of the question phrasing that however you can encounter these kinds of questions. Because first of all, before starting the real practice tests, okay, we have to understand the structure of the questions, okay, or the types of the questions. Okay, and also after the completion of the general overview of the TOEFL questions, we will have to practice. Do you have something in mind in terms of practice, that which types of books or what books exactly are more appropriate to practice the TOEFL tests?
I don't know exactly, but I think the book Toefl IBT is good, or
Okay,
like
TOEFL
I'm
IBT,
not.
which book? There are so many TOEFL IBT books. Which book do you think
Let me
that might be more useful? I've sent you so many materials, and probably you're going to refer to them. There's some online TOEFL practice tests as well. You can use them, or in the ETS, Education Testing Service official website, you can find some, let's say, not big, but let's say quite adequate practice materials in terms of TOEFL questions. But what about the books?
There was a book, Cracking Toefl. Let me see.
Do you feel like that is more appropriate?
I don't know. I'm not really
Familiar with those
like.
books. All right. I was just asking,
Yeah.
to find out whether or not you were familiar. Okay. The most important books in this industry in terms of TOEFL examination are the books that have been published by the test maker. So who's the test maker? ETS, right? Do you know ETS? Okay, which is located
Yeah.
in the United States, and SAT examination is published by College Board, right? I think ETS is not the publisher of SAT. I don't know. I think, yeah, ETS is the publisher of GRE exam and TOEFL exam. So there are 3 books. One of them is about the official guide to the TOEFL preparation, and there are some, let's say, preparation materials as well as 2 practice tests or 3 practice tests at the end. This is going to be one of the books that you have to go through and you have to study. And another book that we have to go through is Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the TOEFL ETS publications. Again, these are publicized by the ETS. So there are, I think, at least 10 exams that you can go through. And all these tests are previously tested in the, let's say, previous exams. Therefore, we can use the official books. But also, we have some different books. I haven't sent you only all those 3 books. I've also sent you some other books that are published by Kaplan, Barron's, and different organizations like Cracking the TOEFL and so forth. Okay, those are just for preparation purposes. And all of them, in the beginning of the book cover, they state that this book is not endorsed by ETS. It means that it's not supported. Maybe there are some useful insights or not, but generally, if you know the content, if you know the types of the questions, if you know the structure of the questions, in that case, that will be okay for you, because the questions will be somewhat similar, but the real difficulty level might be different. For example, in some books, it might be more difficult, like Barron's, or in Kaplan and in Longman. I think they are more much easier when it's compared to real tests. Okay, but in either case, you have to just practice more with the right attitude. Okay, if you practice more with the wrong attitude, with the wrong answer types, or with the wrong questions, then it means that you are developing a bad habit, okay, which is later cannot be fixed. Okay, that's the main concern. Therefore, we have to first of all understand the test content and format, and let's say realize the question types, and then get started the practice test. And all the questions for the practice test that I've mentioned in terms of official guide by ETS, they have the explanation at the back of the book, and you can find them and you can understand that, whatever the questions are like. And we're going to go through them together, hopefully. But for now, let's talk about the question types and the listening test. Again, you're going to take the main dominant role here. Just get started.
So the first question type is gist content.
Okay, where? Just imagine yourself as a teacher, and now considering that Murad is not available here, you are explaining this to Murad, all right? Just take that into account. In the listening test, we have several question types, and the first question type that can be encountered in the listening test is gist content. You go ahead. And if you have any difficulty, just ask her right away, because we're just simulating the position. And if you don't know, for example, the meaning of gist, then you can ask for anything else. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we can see it 6 times per section, and it values 1 point. So if you see the phrase like, what is the topic of discussion, what is the professor mainly discussing, it means that it's a gist content question type.
So what might be the proper strategy that you can use in order to understand the content or the gist of the conversation or the discussion? What strategies?
Like, strategies?
Yeah.
It is like similar to the main idea question in SAT. So I think that we should understand the whole passage, or I mean like the whole listening, and think about the idea of the text, of the listening itself, of the topic, I mean.
Okay, that's why I talked about the importance of the prep method. Generally, in English, let's say speakers, or in English speaking world, we start with point, which is the gist of our conversation, which is the main content of our conversation. Generally, it's being given in the, let's say, beginning. Sometimes you can find it in the, let's say, in the later parts of your conversation, but generally we talk about, for example, after talking about, let's say, neuromarketing, now I'd like to switch on to, let's say, psychomarketing, that whatever it means. So you can guess that what is going to be the gist of this conversation, right? Generally, we give it in the beginning. We are going to talk about the psychomarketing. So what is psychomarketing? Psychomarketing is the combination of blah, blah, blah. And then we are just talking about the details, why we have to study this topic, and what are some of the examples, how it can be interrelated to other subjects and different types of academic combinations that might be generated in this respect. Okay, but generally the beginning is important. In the beginning, we can understand the gist of the conversation, and also you have to be, let's say, very careful about the keywords, or whatever the keywords are. So there might be some words that are carrying the main weight of the sentence. Yeah, therefore, you have to be careful about the negative words. So today we're not going to talk about the neuromarketing, but we're going to talk about the psychomarketing. Now, not but, just identify these function words and concentrate on the keywords, that whatever the keyword is. Neuromarketing. So what's the topic of the today's discussion? Neuromarketing or psychomarketing or just general marketing? So you have to identify it because sometimes related to the pronunciation, related to some other aspects of the, let's say, listening or spoken English, you might be confused by test makers. So these are essentially deliberate because they want to test that whether or not you are careful, you are very serious and attentive with regard to the pronunciation, intonation, and different aspects of the listening test. So is there any question? Okay, then transition to the second part. question type.
Okay. So the next question type is just purpose. We can see it from 3 to 5
Times.
times, yeah, per section,
Mm-hmm.
and it values 1 point. So if you see a phrase, what does the student visit? Why does the student visit the professor? Or why does the professor mention something? It means that it's a purpose question type, just purpose question type.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that
Mm-hmm.
if we want to like the strategy for this question,
Okay.
well, how to say correctly?
But this in the question word, this is the key to your strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, why? When you listen, always start with why. That's why we're listening to this. So why is this person talking about it? Or why? What is the purpose of this person? Okay, the question identifies itself, and it's the same type of question, like gives content, gives purpose. Okay, the purpose of someone or the content of the topic. Here, instead of the topic, we're just talking about the purpose of the people, but they are interrelated. Okay, either you're going to be tested the GIST content question in one section or GIST purpose, because we can't say that what's the topic of the discussion and why does the professor mention something. Indeed, we can state if it is related to a specific issue. Okay, for example, in the second paragraph or in the second second part of the conversation, it says we also need to pay attention to, let's say, salmon in the Atlantic Ocean, because they are very effective in the eco life of this hemisphere and so forth. And then you feel like about the reason. When you listen, you have to just follow the reasons.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the next question type, it is a detailed question. We can see it from 10 to 12 times per section, and it can value 1 to 2 points. So if you see a question like a phrase like what is stated in the passage about something, or according to the speaker, blah blah blah, it means that it's a detailed question. So I think that to answer this question, we have to pay attention to some details and to the question itself. Like, for example, what is stated, or according to the speaker. It's like a keyword.
Generally, in the Toefl IBT, the questions, for example, what is stated in the passage about, or according to the speaker, that part is going to be re-spoken. Okay, you're going to listen to that part once again. And also, the most important thing here is that while you're listening, be aware of the questions and take notes. Okay, always try to take notes of the main information. What are the information that might you have to identify that what is the main information, what is the detail, and what is important and what's not important. Okay. And what might be the important information? For example, the names of people, or the dates and times. Okay, some sort of, let's say, consequences of the situations, or the processes are important. Okay, and also I'm going to ask you the academic lecture by Long Beach City College. It's a kind of the educational institution between the high school and university, like community college. Okay, but it's highly academic. And you're going to listen to several academic skills that you acquire throughout the Toefl examination, like note-taking, or the main characteristics of successful college students, or maybe the paraphrasing, summarizing, these kinds of academic skills that are going to be mentioned in those lectures. I'm going to task you as well. Okay, just go ahead. Note-taking is important in terms of finding the answer for the details. Okay, what else?
So the next question type is attitude question. We can see it from 3 to 5 times per section, and it values 1 point. So if we see a phrase like, what is the professor's opinion of something, or what can be inferred about the student, it means that it
Hello? What happened? Seems like there was a disconnection.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Let me share once again. So we're talking about the attitude questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I told that we can evaluate the answer by first like asking ourselves how we feel about something. For example, about how does what is the professor's opinion of, or what can be inferred about the student.
Yeah. So what are the some different terms or words that we can use aside from attitude? Can you think of
Tone.
its examples?
Yeah.
For example,
In SAT,
yeah.
like an inference question. But I think that we can, yeah, it's like an inference question.
I'm asking you which other words can be used aside from attitude. Do you know some similar meaning words like synonyms? For example,
Tone.
position.
Yeah, position. Okay.
Disposition. What's the disposition of professor? What's the approach of this person? Or let's say perspective or point of view. Or I guess you have already heard about stance, right? Did you understand that? Stance.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. These are just the, let's say, question type phrasing. Okay, these are just the examples, but it doesn't mean that they're all. It just gives you that what might be the questions look like. Okay, maybe it's not going to be exact like this, but it will be something similar to this. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So again, you have to think about the, let's say, just like purpose question, think about what is the professor's opinion about something, what he thinks by inferring the information, like you said in the SAT examination. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next question type is function question. It can be, we can see it from 3 to 4 times per section, and it values 1 point. So if we see a phrase like, what does the speaker mean when he says blah, 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 or why does the professor say this? It means like that it's a function question.
Yeah.
I think it's
related. They are related parts. Okay, go on.
Yeah.
What do you think? Go on.
It's related like to the attitude maybe question a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, for example, what is the professor's opinion of something? Or what does this mean when he says? It's like kind of connected to each other.
Yeah. But the only difference is that if it is the question like this, Okay, then these questions will be less. Okay, 3 to 4, and they have the
Yeah.
same value. You don't have to care about them. Most important thing that you might be fear of losing the score is detailed questions and organization questions, because they have 1 to 3 points. Maybe you can get 2 points or 3 points, and if you lack, or if you fail to answer 2 questions in the organization type of questions, which score, which let's say says for 3 points, then it means that you're going to get 24 scores in the speaking test or in the listening test. Okay, therefore, you need to be careful about the organization questions as well, very importantly. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
At 1 point, and this is 1 to 3 points, depending on the difficulty level of the question. Okay, go on.
So the next question type is inference question. We can see it from 5 to 6 times per section, and it also values 1 point. So
Okay.
if we see a phrase like what can be inferred about, or what does the speaker imply about, it means that it's an inference question. I think that like we can
Yeah, make a relationship.
paraphrase, like in other words, like it's like kind of connected, like what can be inferred about, or what can something mean, for example, or what does the speaker imply about, like what does it mean, what does it indicate, maybe.
Not indicate, this is the indirect information. The exact information is not being given here, but indirectly the speaker wants to say that. For example, what can be inferred from this statement? Actually, I see that there's so many people who are purchasing P&G or Procter & Gamble products, but if I were them, I would stay away from such kind of products. Okay, what can be inferred from here? I'm not recommending those products, or I have some. They're all going to depend on the multiple choices. There will be 3 or 4 choices, and those choices will be something closer to them. You have to, before looking at the questions, in the choices, you have to formulate the answer in your mind. That, for example, he's not for these products, or he's against these products, and then you're looking at the choices, and whatever the choices are, then you'll have the opportunity to find the answer which you have already predetermined in your mind. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the next question type is organization question. We can see it approximately 4 times per section, and it values it can value from 1 to 3 points. So if we see a phrase like how does the professor organize the information about something, it means that it's an organization question. It's kind of similar to summary, like summary question, maybe, like how does the professor organize the information about, like how can you sum it, maybe.
Yeah.
Or how
sometimes the sequence of the events, for example, the first you mentioned this one, the second you mentioned this one, it's just about the organization. That what is the starting point, what's the final point, how is the flow of the information throughout the questions or the information in the lecture. So that's going to be the main concentration point in these questions. Okay. What are some of the strategies that you would like to use in the listening test?
I think the main strategy is not like strategy, a tip
or
to make notes.
And taking notes.
Taking notes of the things that the speaker repeats, or of the names, like you said, numbers, maybe.
The details, facts. If the facts that are difficult to remember but can be asked about, you have to, after taking the several mock tests, okay, based on the TOEFL official questions, then it'll be easy for you to determine or identify that whether this question can be asked or not, whether this information is important or not important. And afterward, you'll take notes if you feel like that these are, let's say, important words. And you have to basically write the function words. Okay, do you know what this function words? Just
like
concentrate on the, no, not the keywords. You have to write the keywords, which are considered to be, let's say, content words. But the function words are, they don't have the meaning, okay, like articles, a or an, or the prepositions, okay? You don't have to write everything whatever you hear. Basically, first of all, you are not able to write everything you hear because we're not writing that fast as the person speaks. And secondly, those function words are not giving any value or meaning to the sentence, which means that writing them is not important. And secondly, you have to find out your own, let's say, contractions. For example, instead of saying important, just writing IMP, okay, the first three letters of this word is enough. Okay, if you feel like that, if you write important as IMP, that's enough, then all through your notes, you're going to write IMP. Okay, that means important. Or let's say satisfactory. If you write SAT, okay, SANT, sat. So this is sat, okay? It's sat. Or you can also omit sat, just like satisfactory, okay? In that case, you're going to reduce the time to devote to your note-taking because you cannot write everything, and while you're writing some unnecessary information, you can miss some important points. Therefore, think about the words that you can reduce. And sometimes you're going to be, let's say, presupposed, or you're going to be pre-given the information about it. You're going to now listen about the history of, let's say, Oligothor. Okay, this is the name of the place, for example. So if you hear, or if you see that what you're going to talk about, then you can write that Oligothor is the place, okay, as O. If you see O in your notes, then you're going to understand that you're talking about that place, Oligothor, okay? You have to write it in your notes very clearly that this is what you're going to do in terms of your notes, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Now, instead of saying the full word, fact, okay, you can say FCT. That's all, okay? Or you can use sometimes, let's say, numbers in order to reduce the words. For example, C. Some people see it, C as the letter, for example, or two, the number two as the preposition. You can use them. So whatever you feel like that is convenient to you, just try not to intimidate yourself. Don't fear of using them. Instead, just be bold and go forward. So another important aspect of the Toefl test is that you need to know the organization of the lectures. That, however, it is presented. Generally, there are two main structures. Okay, and lecture or presentation, where there's a clearly defined introduction, body, and conclusion, just like in the writing test. Okay, have you taken the SAT essay?
No.
Just a general SAT without essay. Okay, but I guess you have the information about the writing structure. That we have the introduction.
In IELTS. For
okay,
example.
you prepare for the IELTS. All right. So we have the introduction, body, and conclusion, which is another another form of prep method. In the introduction, we give our point. In the body, we are providing the reasons and examples, and in the conclusion part, we again summarize our main point here. Okay. So also we can say beginning, middle, and end. And there are different types of let's say terminology that we can use instead of prep method. This is what I find it more useful. So we can work through these styles of organization. For example, it might be the theory and evidence part. Okay, this is the organization. Firstly, the theory has been provided or put forward by the by the lecturer or speaker, and then you provide the evidence or cause and effect relationship between the let's say between the information in the lecture. So the cause is being given, and then the effect, cause and effect, or it might be the steps of processes. Okay, for example, how to produce coal. Firstly, we got to go to the mountain and take some ground land and so forth. Okay, that's the processing of the information. And also, you can find the comparison of two things. So you need to understand basically that what is the organization of the lecture in order to, let's say, find out what might be the next. Okay, if you know that what's coming next, then it'll be easier for you to get yourself adapted to different types of audios. And also we can, let's say, listen to several lectures, audios in different forums. So I've mentioned Youglish, right? For you to, let's say, if you have any kind of word or a difficult word that you can't understand, you can listen to those words in the context. But also, in terms of ideas, you can listen to the Youglish as well. For example, let's say that your teacher, or in this case me, I'm tasking you that you have to write about crime or child abuse, or let's say drug trafficking, or the importance of education. So by just writing education in the Youglish, you're going to find out the information about the education or crime, child abuse, or whatsoever that you're looking at. Okay, this is one of the let's say example websites that you can use, but also there are some other websites that we can use in order to enhance and amplify our listening practices. Can you tell me if you've used in terms of your IELTS listening or any other internal English preparation that you have used for listening purposes? What can be
Yeah,
used?
I used the book. We called it a yellow book, Listening IELTS. It had many sections. For example,
Okay, got it.
yeah, like from different books, official IELTS or Barron's, like sometimes some. So each chapter was connected to different books, and all of them were collected in one yellow book. Yeah.
Okay, this is the book, but it's designated for the preparation purposes. Okay, it has nothing to do with the real life purposes. But in real life, the things that you're gonna hear is in general different, right? So, what kinds of resources that we can use to employ to our listening practice? Okay, not only the preparation, but also the real life condition we have to take into account. You have some suggestions? What can we watch, for example, or listen?
Maybe, I don't know. I watch movies in English, TV
Okay,
shows.
movies, TV shows.
Um,
What about the radios? Have you ever heard about National Public Radio of the United States or CNN Radio? Or we
I
can
I watch
watch.
some podcasts of different
Okay,
celebrities.
podcast. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not. I prefer TV shows more than radios. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then what we can do?
TV shows, yeah, they're funny, exciting, and interesting, but you have to sometimes listen to the radio because it is just in the format that you might be encountering in the Toefl test room. Okay? Because some of the extracts are taken from directly from the Voice of America, CNN Radio, or ABC News, and so forth. How about the audiobooks? Do you feel like that audiobooks are essential for listening practice? What do you think about it?
Yeah. I used many audiobooks. Sometimes when I don't have time to read the book, I listen to it. For example, when I come home from school or when I go somewhere, and it's really convenient. And about the listening, I think it's also useful.
Mhm. Yeah, you both
Yeah.
understand you both enhance your speaking skills if you repeat the, let's say, audiobooks, and also your listening skills, and you don't have enough time. I had a mentor whose name was Ryan Lee, and he didn't have enough time to read books. What he was doing was basically when he was commuting, when he was, let's say, exercising 2 hours for an hour, okay, he's just exercising with his body, but with his ears, he was listening to the audiobooks, which is just breaking the gap, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Do you have some other issue, let's say, recommendation in this respect? How about speaking to different people?
Yeah, speaking to international students maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or some other. For example, last year I made many friends. I participated in the conference in Kazakhstan, and I made many friends there, English-speaking friends,
Mm-hmm.
and that helped a lot in improving my,
English.
because these friends were like from different countries,
Mm-hmm.
from India, from Slovenia, and other countries, and all of them had different accents. So I improved my listening by listening to their
A
speech.
variety of accents. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there are also some forums that you can, let's say, Google them. That, for example, uh, an English-speaking partner. Find an English-speaking partner. Okay. There
Mm-hmm.
are so many Americans, British people, or Canadians, Australians, that they want to exchange their ideas, culture, or so and so forth. Okay. Maybe they want to learn about your language. Okay. Doesn't matter.
Uh, you
I,
know,
mhm,
was a period of time when I wanted to find a friend,
mhm,
an English-speaking friend,
mhm.
and I used many programs like High Native and other program apps like that, but I didn't find
Find the
any.
person.
Like, yeah, most of the people wanted, for example, they were teachers who wanted money, like instead, or maybe there were like some people, I don't know, like most of them didn't want to.
Okay, but we're talking about the common types of, for example, WhatsApp groups. There are WhatsApp groups for, let's say, or Telegram groups for English speaking. Okay, if
Uh,
that's the case, a person is writing their, let's say, wishes that I'd like to speak to, let's say, a student, to a teacher, to whomsoever, and you're just checking out whether or not it's convenient for you. If that is convenient, then you're checking that person, and that you are scheduling your common times. That, for example, during the mornings or during the afternoon, we can talk during these days, but these days are not available, and that's going to be the case. Yeah.
mhm.
But we have to find the effective. There are so many spam websites or spam applications like that. I know that, but there are some useful ones as well. Okay.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
can write if you're looking for the effective or best forms, then you have to just add the word best. For example, best English speaking partner finding of programs, websites, and so forth. Okay, then
Mhm.
it's going to release only the best or the best websites.
Mhm.
Another strategy that you can use in the listening test is usage of the signals. Okay, the signal words. So, what kind of signal words that we may have? For example, in terms of opinion, let's say that the professor, lecturer, or whomever the speaker is, they're stating about their opinion. What might be the proper expressions or phrases that we can use in order to indicate our opinion?
For example, I think, I reckon, in my opinion, in my point of view,
Hmm.
then yeah, I think that's
Or,
it.
yeah, as far as I know, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned, or
as far as.
from my point of view, or in my angle. Okay, angle
Mhm.
also means point of view. Okay, or it's
Uh-huh.
thought that it appears that it appears to me that this is not the case. Okay, these kinds of things are indicating and signaling that this person is talking about his opinion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about the theory? When we mention about the theory, how can we state that this is the theory?
I think that the theory will start with the name of the person, maybe who discovered it, maybe, or let me think.
Sometimes, yeah. For example, according to this person, he thinks, okay, he claims, he argues that this is the case, okay, or we can say in theory, or theoretically, okay, or hypothetically. Have you heard these words? Hypothetically
Yeah.
or theoretically. Okay, these are hypothesizing the information that it's theory, it's not evidence, therefore it's not beyond theory. Or let's say we can also talk about the negatives, okay, which means that you need to be very especially careful because sometimes we have the differences in terms of intonation, and we cannot understand that if the statement was positive or negative. For example, I can't listen. What does it mean? I can't listen.
What? Could you repeat it, please?
I can't listen to the music.
I can't listening to the music, or?
So that's my question indeed. I can't listen, or I can listen to the music. Which did I say?
I didn't hear it. Like
Okay.
it was a bit.
What's the, let's say, trick here? That if you put the stress on the modal verb, okay, like can, okay, it's going to be understood by the American or any native speaker that you can't, okay, even though that you say can, okay, but if you stress that word, it means that you state it negatively. I can't listen to you. It doesn't mean I can listen to you. I say I can. Okay. I don't even produce the last letter here, T. I can listen. It means I can't. Okay. Therefore, be careful with that when you're speaking, also when you're listening. You don't know. This is quite obvious, but sometimes it's related to can't, or there are also some words that have the, let's say, negative prefixes. Can you exemplify them?
Yeah. For example, when
What is the the opposite of
relevant,
available?
available, unavailable, relevant, irrelevant, then happy,
Or
unhappy, or
how about organized?
organized, unorganized,
Yeah, unorganized or disorganized. What about
disorganized,
verbal? Verbal.
verbal.
We need to state some verbal and non-verbal
Yeah,
expressions.
non-verbal.
Non-verbal.
Or agreement, disagreement.
Moral.
Immoral. Or immoral. Normal and normal, maybe.
Yeah. So you need to be careful about these as well. So maybe we're going to talk more about the, let's say, connected words and so forth in the writing and speaking test, because when we, for example, I just noticed in the beginning of the lesson that you had the problem with the use of obeyed. It doesn't mean that you don't know that, but it means that we have to enhance the usage of the English. Okay. For, let's say, instead of just, for example, we want to give an example about the situation. So which common words can be used in order to exemplify the circumstance? Okay, just for example, okay, in the speaking test, for example, that's okay, but we need to also demonstrate the other types of the vocabulary in order to demonstrate that we have more vocabulary related to the given topic. Go
for
ahead.
example, for instance, example,
as an instance, as an example, or to illustrate the situation, to name a few. Okay, these are all the exemplification. Or you can just use this verb, exemplify. For example, I would exemplify, let's say, Obama, Bush, or let's say other presidents as the, I don't know whether to say, okay, let's just change the statement, as the presidents of the United States. Okay, I would exemplify. This is the verb form. All right. And another point of view is, go on.
For example, for instance, and also such as, maybe also.
Yeah, such as, like, yeah, all those. And the most important thing is in the speaking test, in the listening test, regardless of the section of the TOEFL or IELTS. So it's practice, okay? Because practice makes perfect. But practice is very important word, because if you practice the wrong things, then you're going to practice or build up the wrong habits, which is very difficult to later fix on. Okay, therefore, we need to practice the right things, which is called the efficiency of our study. Okay, we can study the right things, which is effectiveness of our study, but also we need to do it the right way, which means efficient. Okay, there are some resources that we can use in order to, let's say, practice the listening test, practice the TOEFL examination. Okay, I would suggest you to, let's say, use some sort of YouTube teachers as well. Okay, or YouTube practice tests as well, because from hearing different people, you're going to, the strategies that I've told you, or they're just some part of it, okay? And maybe you're going to hear a few tips and tricks by some other, let's say, teachers, and it's not the full picture, okay? The most important thing is that, however, you're going to develop yourself by your own practice, okay? Not our practice. Maybe the strategy that I'm recommending you is not going to work for you. Maybe the best TOEFL teacher, maybe the American or Harvard professors, okay, they have the best strategies for you. They're not going to work for you. But the ones that are going for you are the ones that you have developed through your practice. Okay, that's the most important thing. You have to customize and personalize your own style. Okay, we had a student who got accepted to Australian institution, okay, while he was studying there at his tertiary education. He was given a kind of, let's say, assignments by the professors. And when he was talking about the professors, it was the oral presentation. They were saying that this is their thought, okay, it's their thought. And we don't care about, for example, what someone told about this situation. Yeah, we mostly care about what you think about it, okay? Because we want the different types of views. That's why we're recruiting the students from different parts of the world. Okay? So your opinion is going to be valuable for others. Okay, therefore we're using the other's opinion. But the most important one is that we have to use our own opinion in the best way to our advantage. That's the key that you need to find out how you can develop that kind of skill. Okay, now I'm going to, let's go to the YouTube, and I'm going to share, let's say, my screen. Let's say here, here we go. So TOEFL speaking, TOEFL. No, Long Beach City College study skills. Okay, study skills. I'm going to send the link to the WhatsApp group. All right. I'm going to task you that what we're required to do. These are very useful skills that you can acquire.
Okay.
There are some tips and tricks and techniques that are going to be used. So did you hear the voice?
Yeah.
Okay. So here are some of the skills that you can develop throughout your academic skills. Okay, these are, let's say, the lectures. And the professor is quite fluent and you won't have any understanding problem. This is my personal opinion, but I believe that you won't have any problem. And I'd like you to study at least 2 lectures every day. Is that possible?
2 lectures, like 1 hour lectures?
Yeah, these are 48 or 50 minutes. Can you listen or watch one video lecture by taking notes and contemplating, pondering about the information that is being given here, or one lecture is enough? Which one is
I think
good for you?
one lecture is enough. Yeah.
Okay. There are in total 14 lectures. Okay. And where's our class? Okay. This is the playlist of this, let's say, lecture. And I want you to especially, firstly, study, listen, improve your listening skills. Improve your listening skills. Successful students. Okay, the common characteristics of successful students. Okay, successful students, and note taking. These are the first 3 lectures I would like you to listen. And afterwards, you're going to listen to other techniques, memory study skills, more memory study skills, remember for tests and so forth. There are various information. And I would also suggest that try to listen, let's say, with 1.2, 1.3 speed, because this teacher is not speaking very fast. Maybe sometimes he speaks fast, but not all the time. Okay. And also, I'm going to task you some other tasks. Okay. And let's write here units. So essential words. Essential words. Okay. Unit 11 to 20. Okay, units 11 to 20. We're going to complete that one. And for speed reading, chapters 3 to 4. What was your main impression on speed reading?
Actually, I liked it, like the strategies, and for example, they gave us the text, and at first they said read it aloud, and then they gave us the text like in a different written form, and we had to read it again. And the way that they like the text, it was divided into 2 parts on the page, and you could read like not the whole row, but like there were 2 columns in the page, and it was really convenient to read. And I understood that I read faster when I do like that, like when I glance, you know. And they always said that don't vocalize the words, don't vocalize the letters, and that actually helped me a lot. Like I now like I read only 2 chapters, and now I see that I read a bit like faster than before. Yeah,
and also you got that's just the introduction, and you're going to see more techniques and let's say tips in order to accelerate your reading process. So I hope that a lecture a day, let's write a lecture a day from the above link. A lecture a day is going to be sufficient for you, that you have to summarize, take notes, okay, and write summary. Okay. If there is any additional homework, I'm going to send you through WhatsApp group. Okay. But now, for now, I think it's okay. Probably I'm going to add only one, let's say, chapter or 2 chapters maybe from the college reading book, because it's the books that is conducting the American colleges and very useful, and you can have more, let's say, enhancement by reading that book. Okay, this is the end of our lesson. Do you have any question to me?
No.
So just remind me if I don't, let's say, share this video as a YouTube link in our Toefl group. Remind me that I had to upload it to our YouTube channel, and then make it available for Murad. And also you can inform about the assignments for Murad to do. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.